Della Reese was born Della's Patricia early on July 6, 1931 and died on November 19, 2017. She was an American jazz and gospel singer, actress, and ordained minister. Reese's long career began as a singer, scoring a hit with her 1959 single Don't You Know? In the late 1960s, she hosted her own talk show, Della, which ran for 197 episodes. She also starred in films beginning in 1975, including playing opposite Red Fox in Harlem Nights, 1989, Martin Lawrence in A Thin Line Between Love and Hate, 1996, and Elliot Gould in Expecting Mary, 2010. She achieved continuing success in the television religious supernatural drama Touched by an Angel, 1994 to 2003, in which Reese played the leading role of Tess. Her mother had had several children before Reese's birth, none of whom lived with her, hence, Reese grew up as an only child. At 6 years old, Reese began singing in church. From this experience, she became an avid gospel singer. On weekends in the 1940s, she and her mother would go to the movies independently to watch the likes of Joan Crawford, Bette Davis, and Lena Horne portray glamorous lives on screen. Afterwards, Reese would act out the scenes from the films. In 1944, she began her career directing the Young People's Choir, after she had nurtured acting plus her obvious musical talent. She was often chosen, on radio, as a regular singer. At the age of 13, she was hired to sing with Mahalia Jackson's gospel group. Della entered Detroit's popular Cass Technical High School, where she attended the same year as Edna Ray Galuni, later known as Ellen Burstyn. She also continued with her touring with Jackson. With higher grades, she was the first in her family to graduate from high school in 1947, at only 15. Afterwards, she formed her own gospel group, the Meditation Singers. However, due in part to the death of her mother and her father's serious illness, Reese had to interrupt her schooling at Wayne State University to help support her family. Faithful to the memory of her mother, Della moved out of her father's house when she disapproved of him taking up with a new girlfriend. She then took on odd jobs, such as truck driver, dental receptionist, and elevator operator, after 1949. Performing in clubs, Early soon decided to shorten her name from Della's Early to Della Reese. Reese was discovered by the gospel singer Mahalia Jackson, and her big break came when she won a contest, which gave her a week to sing at Detroit's well-known Flame Show Bar. Reese remained there for 8 weeks. Although her roots were in gospel music, she now was being exposed to and influenced by such jazz artists as Ella Fitzgerald, Sarah Vaughan and Billie Holiday. In 1953, she signed a recording contract with Jubilee Records, for which she recorded 6 albums. Later that year, she also joined the Hawkins Orchestra. Her first recordings for Jubilee were songs such as In the Still of the Night, originally published in 1937, I've Got My Love to Keep Me Warm and Time After Time, 1947. The songs were later included on the album And That Reminds Me, 1959. In 1957, Reese released a single called And That Reminds Me. After years of performing, she gained chart success with the song. It became a top 20 pop hit and a million-seller record. That year, Reese was voted by Billboard, Cashbox and various other magazines as the most promising singer. In 1959, Reese moved to RCA Records and released her first RCA single, called Don't You Know?, which was adapted from Giacomo Puccini's music for La Bohème, specifically, the aria Quando Me Vo, Musita's Waltz. It became her biggest hit to date, reaching the number 2 spot on the pop charts and topping the R&B charts, then called the Hot R&B Sides, that year. It sold over 1 million copies, and was awarded a gold disc by the RIAA. Eventually, the song came to be widely considered the signature song of her early career. She then released a successful follow-up single called Not 1 Minute More, number 16. She remained on the Billboard Hot 100 chart with And Now, number 69. In 1960 she released Someday, You'll Want Me to Want You, number 56, which was drawn from her Grammy-nominated album Della. The album rose in the pop album charts to number 35. Reese's mother, Nellie Mitchell Early, died in 1949 of an intracerebral hemorrhage. Reese's father, Richard Early, died 10 years later. Reese had an adoptive daughter whom she acquired from a family member unable to care for her, named Reese Daniels Owens, in 1961. Owens died on March 14, 2002. It was never released whether she died from suicide or from complications stemming from pituitary disease. Reese said about the painful experience, sharing her frustration with the lack of awareness and knowledge of pituitary disorders. Reese died on the 19th of November 2017, passing away peacefully at her California home. Her representative Linda Belensky told USA Today, "We lost a magnificent woman who was a trailblazer in many ways.